Okay, so in the last lecture we discussed about some of that is what is the protection, why we need that protection system in power system. Today we will continue with that. Now, first we start that what are the shunt faults? Can anyone can tell me that what are the shunt faults? Shunt faults are also known as the short circuits. So shunt faults can be characterized as when the path of the load current is cut short. You can say when the path of load current is cut short due to the breakdown of insulation. Then we can say that short circuit has occurred. So the insulation breakdown occurs due to the variety of the reasons. If you see that there are certain causes of this insulation breakdown due to the aging, temperature, rain, hail, and snow, foreign objects, and other causes. So these are actually the causes for the breakdown of the insulation, and the shunt faults are basically due to the failure of the insulation, due to the breakdown of the insulation. Shunt fall uh, to the aging, due to the temperature rise, due to the rain, hail, and snow, or it can be due to the over voltage or over voltage. So now let us take an example. Let us take an example. In this example, you will see the line to ground fall occurs in a system. Let us suppose that we have a one pole is there, and insulator is tied to it. These are the insulator discs. And wire is connected here. These are the insulation discs, and wire is connected here. And above that, let us suppose that we have a ground wire. So what happens? Let us suppose that due to the breakdown of the insulation, due to the foreign objects, let us suppose that the path is given to this current. Let us suppose the current is flowing in this particular direction. So because of the breakdown of the insulation, because of the foreign objects, the arc is struck. So this is the fault arc through this. So the arc is struck because of it can be due to the temperature effects, due to the rain or some of foreign objects in that. This there is the breakdown of the insulation, and then the current will flow through this, and this is the fault arc in this case. So you can say that this is actually a single line to ground fault on a transmission line due to the flashover of spark gap across the string type of insulator. So this is one of the example of this fault. And such faults due to the insulation failure flashover are mainly temporary, because it can be due to the temperature, it can be due to the rain or some foreign objects. So these kind of faults can be temporary in the nature. It can be temporary in nature. It means that if the arc path is allowed to deionize this path, let us suppose this path, if we allow this path to deionize, then in that very case, what happens? If we allow this path to deionize, then by interrupting the electrical supply for some amount of time, that is, if we deionize this path by interrupting the electrical supply for some amount of time, then you can say that the arc does not restrike. There is the least possibility of restriking the arc. So what we do, because it is due to this fault is actually due to the flashover of the insulation. So what we do, we will interrupt the electrical supply for a small amount of time, so that the whole of the path will deionize, and as a result, it will not restrike. There is no restriking of arc. So this process of interruption followed by the re-energization is known as the recloser. So this process of interruption of the supply with re-energization of the supply is known as the recloser. So what we do whenever the fault is there, it can be due to many reasons. So what we do, we will try first recloser. What we do, we will interrupt the supply for a small amount of time, and then if some foreign objects would be there, then the path will be deionized, and as a result, there is no restriking of arc. So as a result, we can have the supply in that. Now, if you see in a low voltage systems, we can have the 3 reclosers. In a low voltage system, we can have 3 reclosers, and if the supply still there is the interruption, then what we do, we break the breaker is locked out, that is supply is interrupted. We attempt the first recloser, then second recloser, then third recloser. And if some foreign object is there, let us suppose that some tree is there, some branches falling on that particular area, and because of that reclosers, it will burn out, and these things happen. So we attempted the 3 reclosers in low voltage system. So what the recloser will do, this recloser will help in burning out the object that is causing the breakdown of the insulation. So the recloser, actually, this recloser is it is done automatically. The recloser is done automatically. However, in extra high voltage systems, EHV systems, what happens? There is the possibility of the damage, and the system stability is also at stake. So only one recloser is allowed. So we have only one recloser. So this is about the recloser. Now, what happens that sometimes the short circuit can be total, or it is known as the dead short circuit, or it can be partial short circuit. Partial short circuit means that there might be some resistance in that. Dead short circuit or the partial short circuit. So it can be dead short circuit or the partial short circuit. And if fault which bypasses the entire current through it, that kind of fault is known as the metallic fault. Whole of the current, if it bypasses, then this type of fault is known as the metallic fault. And metallic fault, it presents a very low, practically zero fault resistance. So in this case, the fault resistance is zero. And if you see this partial short circuit, it can be modeled as a zero resistance in parallel with the intended path. So the modeling, if you want to do the modeling of that, so it can be modeled by a non-zero resistance. There is some resistance, but the resistance value is very low in parallel with the intended path of the current. Let us suppose that we have this intended path of the current, and the fault resistance in this case is nothing but the resistance of the arc that is formed through it. So it is actually the arc resistance. So this fault resistance is the arc resistance, which is formed as a result of flashover. And the nature of this resistance is highly nonlinear. It is very much nonlinear. So its nature is nonlinear. So it is nonlinear in nature, and many of the researchers are very resistance. If you see that one of the researcher, which is known as the Warrington, he has given the value of the arc resistance as so 8750 S plus 3 UAT, where S is the spacing in feet, U is the velocity of the air, T in this case is time, and I is the fault current in ampere. So this model was given by the Warrington. Now the question arises that what are the effects of the shunt faults? So what are the effects of the shunt faults? So if let us suppose that we have a power system, in the power system we have the isolated generators feeding their own loads, then you can say that the steady state current would not be of much concern. So if we consider the system, isolated system in which we have the generator and the load, then in that very case, the current, there is no effect of the current. If the fault occurs, then we can isolate that generator in that very case. Now let us suppose that we have a generator. Synchronous impedance. Then we have the load. And let us suppose that fault occurs here. So when the fault occurs, in that very case, the whole of the load current is bypassed. So we cannot have the current which is flowing through the load. So whole of the load current in that very case is bypassed. So if the load current is bypassed, and let us suppose that we have let us consider the isolated system with it, where some fault occurs, as we have seen in this. And let us suppose that initial per unit voltage is, let it be 1 per unit, and synchronous impedance in this case, let it be 2 per unit. And the steady state short circuit current would be, if we find out the steady state short circuit current in that very case, it would be simply, that is 1 divided by 2, that is 0.5 per unit, which is too small. However, if we take the case of the subtransient impedance, that is xt in that very case, if we take the case of the subtransient impedance, since the subtransient impedance, which is during the transient part of the fault, so in that very case, the value is 0.1. Its value is always less than that of the during the steady state impedance during the steady state. So then in that very case, the current, short circuit current, would be equals to 10 per unit. So in this case, this 10 per unit is very large system, and if the short circuit current in that very case would be 10 per unit, and we have the interconnected system, that is the whole of the system, whole of the power grid is interconnected. So all the generators and all the motors, all the generators will contribute towards the fault current. All the generators will contribute towards that fault current. That is, if the interconnected system is there, then in that very case, if this current is this short circuit, this transient impedance is 0.1, the short circuit current is per unit, 10 per unit, and we have the interconnected system. So this interconnected, because of this interconnection, all the generators will contribute towards the fault current, building up the value of the fault current to the 10 times the normal full load current. So this is the issue with that interconnection, because all the generators which are connected, all the sources which are connected with that, they will feed that fault current. Now, what the fault will do, whenever there is fault, it will cause the heavy current to flow. So this fault will cause the heavy current to flow. Means large amount of current. And if this current exists for a small amount of time, for a short period, it will have extensive damage to the equipment that carry these current, because the current is very large. So if you see what this overcurrent, this we can also call the heavy current as the overcurrent. What this overcurrent will do, it cause the overheating. It will cause the overheating and danger of the fire. That is there is the danger of the fire. It also causes the deterioration of insulation. Because the insulation will be burned out because of that, and weakening it further. So also one more issue with the increase in the current is that it causes the mechanical damage to the equipment, because when the large current flow through the transformer, let us suppose through the transformer windings, large current flow, then the opposite forces will these turns, the forces will act opposite with respect to each other, and it will have the mechanical damage to also due to these faults. So which is due to the fact that any two current carrying conductors experience the force, and if the force goes out of bounds, then in that very case it causes the mechanical distortion or the damage. So these are some of the effects of this fault current. So one more point is that in an interconnected system, if you take the case of an interconnected system, in an interconnected system, there is another dimension to the effect of these faults. The generator in interconnection system must operate in synchronism at all the instance. So all the generators must be in synchronism. They must be in the synchronism at all the instance. So let us suppose that electrical power of one alternator, let us suppose that electrical power of one alternator, the electrical power output near the fault drops sharply. So let us suppose that we have the generator, and let us suppose that it is feeding some load. So electrical some let us suppose instead of going to the load, there is a fault in the system, and so as a result, what happens that the power output, that is electrical power, it drops sharply. So, however, we can have intact mechanical input. We have the mechanical this input is substantial. It causes the alternator to accelerate because there is the imbalance between the electrical power and the mechanical power. So it will, what it will do, energy somewhere has to go. So it will start to accelerate and the rotor angle delta start increasing. And as a result, what happens that alternators start swinging with respect to one another. And if the swing got out of bounds, they are swinging with respect to each other. And if the swing got out of control or out of bounds, then in that very case, the alternator has to be tripped out. So, in an interconnected power system, the system stability is at stake. So, the faults need to be isolated. Faults need to be isolated as selectively as selectively and speedily as possible. As possible. So these are some of the effects of the shunt faults. Now we discuss about what are the different classifications of the shunt faults. Classification of the shunt faults. So these faults can be classified as the phase faults, and the one classification is the phase fault and the ground fault. Phase fault and the ground fault. Now, what are the phase faults? It involves the one phase conductors and the ground. Now, this phase faults are the faults where two or more phase conductors with or without ground. and ground faults are actually these faults of the phase conductors with ground. Now, if you see, the power system has been in operation for over hundreds of years. So, accumulated experience has shown that all the faults are not equally likely. There is the possibility of the different faults which are occurring at a different amount of time. Like if you see that the single line to ground fault are the most likely fault, and the three-phase fault is the least likely. So single line to ground fault is most likely fault, and three-phase fault or triple line fault is least likely. It is least likely. Now, other classification of these faults is the symmetrical faults and the unsymmetrical faults. Other classification is symmetrical and unsymmetrical. Since you are from power system, you might be knowing about this symmetrical or unsymmetrical faults. So can anyone tell me that what are faults, symmetrical faults, and what are unsymmetrical faults?
So symmetrical faults are those faults in which we can do the per phase analysis because our system is balanced in that case. In case of unsymmetrical faults, our system becomes unbalanced, so we can't do the per phase analysis in that. We use the symmetrical components in that case.
Yeah, that is one of the, you can say, answer. But what are the symmetrical faults? You can say that what is this triple line? Is a symmetrical or unsymmetrical fault?
Sir, symmetrical faults, sir.
Yeah. So which involves all the lines and which involves the ground, the unbalance is there, then you can say that these are unsymmetrical faults. So if you see, the total number of the faults in the power system are 10. So there are 10 faults in the power system. And if you see the symmetrical the equipments, let us suppose that we have a this we will discussing about this this symmetrical. Let us suppose that we have a transmission line, and we have a circuit breaker here in the transmission line, and then we have the ground and earthing switch. So this is actually the earthing switch. So this symmetrical fault, it occurs to the wrong coordination between the circuit breaker and the earthing switch. Let us suppose what happens that we have this circuit breaker. This is connected. It is connected in the long transmission line, and earthing switch is actually connected with the. You can say that it is connected to the earth. And what is there? Let us suppose that we want to energize the line, but still, this earthing switch is connected to the ground. So we want to energize the line. Let us suppose that we have de-energized the line, and it is for energizing the line, the earthing switch should not be connected. If it is connected, in that very case, what happens? There is the you can say that there is triple line fault. This switch should be off. If not, then we can say triple line this fault occurs. So it is due to the, it is one of the example, it is due to the wrong coordination between the circuit breaker and the earthing switch. Wrong coordination between the circuit breaker and the earthing switch, and this unsymmetrical line to this line to ground fault, line to ground fault. So these are actually the unsymmetrical faults. And this one of the example that I have already discussed, that flashover of insulation. So this is a kind of unsymmetrical fault. Now let us suppose that we have a the insulation. Let us suppose that we have a wire which is connected to the insulator, and some fault occurs. There is some rating for that particular this insulator, and let us suppose that some fault occur in that insulation disc. So as a result, the fault occurs. So this kind of fault is known as the unsymmetrical fault. So this kind of fault is known as the unsymmetrical fault. So it is one of the example of the unsymmetrical fault, that is line to ground fault. Now let us suppose that what are now we discussed that what is the possibility of the different type of fault. What are the possibilities of the different types of faults? So if you take the case of the LG fault, then we have LL fault, line to ground. So the possibility of this LG fault is 80%, 85%, sorry. So means that 85% of the faults are due to are LG faults. Then we will have LL faults, so 8%, LLG fault 5% and 2%. So these are the possibility. And if you take the case of the severity, then this fault is least severe. And this one is the most severe. And if you take the case of this LG fault, it can be due to the failure of the insulators. And this LLN, LLG fault, it can be due to the swinging of the two conductors, or whenever the fault is due to the, like let us suppose that shortening of the wires due to the kite or the birds sitting on it. Now this is what is the probability of the different type of faults. Now another possibility is what is the probability of faults on different elements of the power system. If you take the case of different elements of the power system, what is the probability of the faults? If you see overhead lines, and what is the probability of the fault is 50%. Then you have the underground cables, then 9%. Then we have the transformers, 10%, generators, 7%. Then we have switchgear, it is 12%, and CTPT relays and control equipment, it is 12%. So these are actually the statistics of the fault on the different probability of the fault on the different equipments. So if you see that this overhead lines, it has the maximum probability of the faults. And if you see, then when the major fault occurs, then it is the transformer which is the most affected because of that when the major fault occurs. So one more thing is that faults can also be classified as a transient and the permanent faults. It can also be classified as the transient and the permanent faults. Transient and the permanent faults. Like transient means, let us suppose that some foreign object is there in the transmission line. So some arc is struck. So what we deionize, or we can re-energize the line again, and then we can do that, or the flash over across the insulation, and it will die down. However, these permanent faults, these are of longer duration, and we need these are of longer duration. And it needs to be isolated as fast as possible. Now, one more point is that the severity of the fault can be expressed as we are talking about the fault current. So, severity of the fault can be expressed in terms of the magnitude of fault current. As the magnitude of the fault current and what is its potential to cause the damage. So the severity of the fault we can judge from only the fault current. Now next is the phasor diagram of the faults during the you can say phasor diagram of the fault of this voltage and the current during the faults. During the fault, as it is obvious, as you know, that the fault is the buildup of the current, which is obvious. And however, if you see that there is the buildup of the current, then there is the fall of the voltage throughout the power system. And if there is a metallic fault, it means that it has the zero resistance. In that very case, the voltage at the fault location is almost zero. So the voltage at the terminals, as you know, that whenever the fault occurs, the voltage at the terminals of the generator will drop, though not drastically. And if the source is ideal, then there will be no drop in voltage. And however, we cannot say that any ideal sources there. So normally the relay, which is used for detecting that, is away from the fault location. So what the relay see, whenever the fault occurs, the relay will see the buildup of the current and the collapse of the voltage. So what the relay will see? Buildup of current and fall in the or collapse in the voltage. Now let us suppose that we have a system let us suppose we have a generator and this is the synchronous impedance of generator. Let it be denoted by ZS, and this is a three-phase generator EA, EB, and EC. And then let us suppose that we have a transmission line and let us suppose that we have used the protection equipment for that. That is, this is the CT which is used. This is the relay. We are getting the information from the CT, and this is the PT. And the current IA, IB, and IC, we got the information. And from here, PT, we got the information as VA, VB, and VC. And this relay is giving the signal to the circuit breaker. Now, let us suppose under the normal condition, if you see, under the normal condition, the current IA, let us suppose take the case of a current IA only. Current IA would be equals to EA. This current is flowing through this IA, IB, and IC under the normal condition. EB and divided by ZS, and let us suppose that we have impedance ZL. ZL impedance is there, so it is ZS plus ZL. This is the total. If you see, this is the ZL is the impedance, and ZS is actually the source impedance, and ZL is actually the line impedance. Now, let us suppose that fault occurs in the system. Then in that very case, what happens? There is a decrease in ZL, and as a result, when the ZL decreases, the current IA will increase. And if you take the case of this VA, voltage VA, it is given by EA minus IA ZS, and this ZS. So if this IA, this component increases, then this voltage will decrease, that is terminal voltage will decrease. So it means that whenever the fault occurs, it is with the increase in the current and the decrease in the voltage. So this can be easily represented by the phasor diagram also. That is, if you take the case of a phasor diagram, in that very case, if you see, we have EA, EB, and EC, and let us suppose that we take it as IA. Let us take the component of IA only instead of writing that. So we have EA, then after that we will have IAZS, finally we will have VA. Have VA. So similarly, we can draw the phasor diagram of that. Now, these are actually the shunt faults. These are related to the shunt faults. And if you take the case of the series fault, what is the series fault?
Hello.
Hello, बताओ.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Sir, we
Good
are
morning.
having our next class from 12 also. So I would say.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we can. Any questions related to that? Tell me.